The Hollow Man in a forgotten corner of the Andes, where the air is thin and time crawls like fog between the trees, there's a name people refuse to speak, not because they've forgotten it, but because they remember too well. They say he knocks 3 times on your window at night. They say he walks with no heartbeat, and if you see his hollow chest, you'll never wake again. They call him the Hollow Man. But he was not always a monster. Once, he was just a boy named Santiago. Chapter 1. Rotten Root. Santiago was born in a remote farming village where stories clung to the wind like pollen. His family lived in a crooked wooden house at the edge of a dying forest. His father, Raphael, was a humble man, silent, strong, with the hands of someone who'd planted more than he'd ever eaten. His mother, Lucia, was gentle but firm, weaving with the patience of saints and eyes that held every worry of the world. Santiago hated all of it. He hated the dirt, the calloused hands, the sting of cold water, and the taste of boiled potatoes. He watched travelers pass by the mountain trail with silver watches and tailored coats, and cursed the life he'd been born into. By 15, his mouth was full of venom. By 17, his fists had done damage. By 21, he believed the world owed him everything, and he would take it by force. Chapter 2. The Blood and the Bottle. Santiago began disappearing into the valley at night, drinking with smugglers, gambling what little he had. He returned home in rages. On the night the sky split open with thunder, he staggered through the front door with empty hands and hollow eyes. "I'm hungry," he barked, slamming the table. "Where's dinner?" Raphael sat by the fire, sharpening a knife. Slowly, "There's soup," he said. "Screw your soup," Santiago snapped. "You've worked these fields your whole life and have nothing to show for it." "You pathetic," Lucia whispered. "Santi, please." He stood. "You hear me, old man? What kind of father can't give his son anything better than this?" Raphael put the knife down and looked at his son with a tired gaze. "If this life is so small, you're free to leave it." Santiago's fists clenched. "You want me gone? Fine. Maybe I'll leave once I show you what pathetic really means." He stormed outside into the rain and into the shed. When he returned, his eyes were darker. He raised the hatchet. Raphael didn't move. Chapter 3. The Final. Lucia screamed. The night split with a wet crunch. She tried to pull her son away, but Santiago shoved her hard enough to knock her into the firewood. Breathing heavy, red splattered across his chest, Santiago stood over the body of the only man who had ever fed him, sheltered him, protected him. Raphael didn't move. His blood soaked into the wood. There was silence, not just in the house, but in the whole valley. Even the wind seemed to pause. Lucia rose shakily. She didn't cry. She didn't scream again. She simply looked at her son with hollowed-out grief. "You've cursed yourself," she whispered. Then she turned, picked up a small pouch hidden in the chimney herbs, bird bones, and something black that twitched like it was still alive, and threw it into the fire. Smoke burst up, thick and choking, as she chanted, "From this day forward, no heart shall beat in your chest, no light shall find your eyes, and your shadow will belong to the dead." Then she stepped outside, barefoot in the cold, and walked into the trees. She was never seen again. Chapter 4. The first sign. Santiago buried the body behind the stable. He didn't feel guilt, not yet, only annoyance. But the world started to change. Food spoiled in his hands. Bread grew mold seconds after touching his tongue. Water turned bitter. Dogs barked when he passed. Horses reared. He tried to ignore it, laughed it off, until the first night of the knocking. Knock, 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 soft, rhythmic. On his bedroom window, he stepped outside with a lantern. Nothing. No tracks, just cold. The next night, it came again. Knock, knock, knock. But this time, the knocking came from inside the walls, in the mirror. The mirror showed a version of him that didn't blink, that stared with dead eyes, and an empty hole where the heart should be. Chapter 5. The hollowing begins. The hole appeared slowly. First he felt tightness in his chest, then pain, then hollowness. A black cavity opened in the center of his torso. Not a wound, no blood, just emptiness. He screamed. He clawed at it. He tried to sew it shut. Nothing worked. He collapsed, trembling, feeling something move inside the emptiness, something that whispered in his father's voice, "You stole breath from a better man." Days passed, or weeks. The sun never seemed to rise fully anymore. Villagers began whispering. They saw him walking the cliffs at night, shirtless, the wind whistling through the hole in his chest. Chapter 6. The Old Woman and the Warning. Desperate, Santiago walked to the oldest house in the valley to see Dona Irma, the last curandera. She did not greet him. She stared at the hole in his chest and whispered a prayer. "I know what you've done," she said. "Can you fix it?" He begged. She shook her head. "You must carry what you've created. But beware, you are not alone." "What do you mean?" "There is something inside you now. Something that belongs to the other side. It follows you, feeds on you." Santiago fell to his knees. "Tell me how to get rid of it." She gave him a box. Inside, a rosary, a black candle, and a small bag of dried leaves. "If it knocks again, light the candle, hold the rosary, burn the leaves, and above all, do not answer. Not the knock, not the voice." He clutched the box like a lifeline. "Thank you." But Dona Irma didn't reply. Her eyes were fixed behind him, wide with terror. Santiago turned and saw nothing but the candle in his box had already gone out. Chapter 7. The third knock. That night, the knocking returned. Knock, knock, knock. Santiago sat in the dark. The rosary dug into his fingers. The candle flickered weakly. Then the whisper came, right beside his ear. "Let me in." The window creaked. "You left me in the dirt." The room grew colder. "It's your turn now." And then, silence. He opened his eyes. In front of him stood a figure, tall, gaunt, cloaked in shadow. Its chest was a void, like his, but deeper, endless. Its eyes were black hollows, and when it opened its mouth, no sound came, just wind. The hollow man had come. Chapter 8. The long walk. Santiago fled into the woods, barefoot, running until his legs failed. But the hollow man was never far. He tried crossing rivers. The water turned to black tar. He tried hiding in churches. The candles blew out when he entered. He tried begging strangers, but they couldn't see him anymore. He was becoming a shadow. Wherever he went, he left no footprints. Birds fell silent. Dogs howled. Children cried without reason. He walked until he forgot his name, and still, the knocking followed. Chapter 9. The rules of the Hollow Man. The villagers say he still wanders. You might see him at dusk, tall as a dead tree, walking slowly, carrying a bag of stones that rattle like bones. There are ways to avoid him. If you hear 3 knocks on your window, do not look. If you see your reflection smile without you, run. If the wind howls your name in the dark, hide your heart. But the most important rule is this: if you hear a voice say, "Let me in," and you answer, you'll take his place, because he only needs one thing to be free: someone to take his burden. Santiago's hollow chest echoes through the mountains. Some nights, people wake with tears on their cheeks and no memory of why. Some hear knocking and find footprints by their bed, and some, the unlucky ones, open their windows, but they're never seen again, because the Hollow Man is always searching for guilt, for weakness, for someone to carry the hole where his soul used to be. So, if you're ever alone in the dark, and you hear 3 soft knocks, ... remember this story. If this tale echoed through your spine, give it a like, it helps more people. Avoid the knock. Subscribe for more horror stories, and make sure to hit the bell icon. You never know when it'll be your window. Thanks for listening, and remember, don't answer